through a very simple genetic mechanism. And that was the big breakthrough in the early 2000s. So the theory that I've come up with to explain these observations is the information theory of aging, or ITOA. And what it says is that aging isn't just wearing out. It's not like we're just cars that break. We're more like computers, and that aging is the loss of the software or the corruption of the software. Or if you have a phone and you get that spinning disk when things don't work, that is more like aging. And the important thing about that model, that hypothesis, if I'm right, it means that we may be able to reboot the system, to reinstall the software of the body and rejuvenate ourselves to be young again. And let me tell you how we think this can be done. So another analogy I want to share with you that I put in my book is a compact disc. When we're young, we have lots of information that can be read in beautiful music. So when we're young, we have beautiful music. When we're older, it's like scratches on the CD, and you cannot read the music anymore. But the music still is beneath the scratches. So if you polish off these scratches on the CD, then, I know it's old technology, but this allowed the music to be played again. And I think aging is the same. If we just polish off the scratches, when we're old, we can read the beautiful music of our bodies again. So this is what it looks more like in the cell. So there are two types of information that we lose as we get older. So when we're born, we have a beautiful copy of DNA in our cells. Every cell has the same DNA, and it doesn't have many mistakes. But as we get older, we lose some of that information in the DNA. But importantly, it's not so much the loss of that information that causes aging. We know this because we can take an old cell from an animal, from a sheep or a monkey or a dog or a cat, and we can make an entirely new animal by cloning it, which means aging is reversible. And the DNA in an old animal can still make a brand new animal that's healthy. So if it's not primarily the loss of DNA information, what is it? Well, I'm saying that it's the other type of information in the cell, the epigenetic information, or the epigenome, which is actually not the DNA itself, but the folding of the DNA. And how the DNA is folded determines which of the music is played in the cell, or which genes are turned on at the right time. And it's what makes a skin cell, and a brain cell, a brain cell. All right? So think of every cell having the same music, but which songs are played is determined by the epigenome, the structures of the DNA. And now we can read those structures, and we can see how the epigenome changes with aging. And the science says that the changes to those loops and the bundles of DNA is very likely a major reason why we get old. So to reverse aging, if I'm right, all you have to do is to put the DNA back into the original shapes. The loops need to go back to being bundles again, and the bundles can go back to being loops. We also know that the epigenome is important because even identical twins age differently. These are identical twins, not with each other. They have identical twins. And you can see that the twin looks different because one twin did the wrong things. They may have smoked or become obese, ate too much bad food, and the other one was healthy. So what this says is that even with the same parents and the same DNA, you can age at very different rates. And I think you can see that, especially with this lady, the one on the right looks younger. And we can actually measure this, not just by looking at the person, but we can measure their age by looking at the chemical changes on their DNA that controls whether you have a loop or a bundle of DNA in the cell. These little chemicals are called methyls, and we can read them with the machine. My students do this all the time in the lab. We just published a paper that made this test go from $200 down to $5. So for $5, we can read your DNA, and we can say how old you are, but not how old you are based on your birthday candles. Of course, how many times the Earth has gone around the sun is irrelevant to how old you are. What's more important is what is the structure of your epigenome? Are those loops and bundles of DNA changing? And what we know from work by many labs, the most well-known is Stephen